the other audience as well as the speaker. Thank you once again for joining. We have with us Dr. Shailja Gupta. She had been earlier to the, she has been leading this programs from DBT, and she has been a great support to us in the area of quality. She's the Chief Project Director at INSEPI. I'll request her to give the opening remarks. Over to you, Dr. Shailja. We are just trying to swap it with Professor Bhatnagar. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a delight to be part of the GLUT professional certification scheme, and I'm happy to be here. As all of you probably know, that in the biopharma sector is one of the largest contributors of GDP to India. In India, and as we look at biopharma sector growing, we are looking at novel vaccines and drugs being developed. THSTI is at the center or the hub of developing new drugs and vaccines as we progress towards innovation in biopharma. When we are looking at novel vaccines and drugs, we are also looking at good clinical practices and good clinical research. And we, with CDSA as the leading and the leading organization for establishing good clinical practices for clinical research, this program, this scheme of good clinical practices professional certification scheme is the first step towards creating standards for clinical research. And as we hope this scheme will not only be something which is looked as the gold standard in India, but across the world. And anybody who is certified under this scheme and accredited under this scheme will be a human research which is the best in the world. And this is the what is it called?
Webinar series.
Third webinar in creating awareness for GCP. And we hope that it will be one of the many, and we will take forward to. I wish the team led by Suchita, Dr. Suchita Banerjee, the best for making this a global standard in good clinical research practices. And over to you, Suchita, and let's see what happens next. Looking forward to the webinar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shailja Gupta. It was a pleasure to have you here with us. I could see that Professor Shinjini Bhatnagar has also joined. Can you ensure that she's able to, she's able to unmute and speak? IT, could you please ensure that she's able to unmute and speak? Can you hear Professor Bhatnagar by any chance? IT, can you please ensure?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm
Ma'am, but we are unable to see your video. Just a second, I'm sending you. Yeah.
Actually, I'm sitting in the hospital.
Okay.
We are
yeah, no problem, ma'am.
No problem, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm at Safdarjung Hospital. I've come here for some work with a research program. So maybe that's why you can't see my video. Yeah, just to welcome everybody. I think Shailja has given a very nice introduction, and I will just take that further to say that we've done This is the third of the series, and we've been doing some successful webinars where I can see that there's a large interest of young professionals who want to understand what is good clinical practice, what are the ethics of doing good clinical research and good clinical trials. So it's very encouraging and very heartening to see this kind of interest. Just to say that just knowing about it, just knowing about good research and good clinical practice is not enough. It's also practicing it and believing in it and taking it forward. And I think these webinars will help many of us, have helped many of us, and will help many of the young researchers today to take this further. Like Shalja said, that we have immense potential amongst us to do clinical research. And as Sucheta reminds me again, that we have 375 registrations, which is really, really great, and to have that kind of interest. So a very warm welcome from the Translational Health Science and Technology Institute for this, to all of you, and wishing everybody a very successful webinar. Happy learning, and thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much, Professor Bhatnagar, for welcoming all the august audience here today. And thank you so much for taking it. I know both Dr. Gupta as well as Professor Bhatnagar both are very busy professionals, but they have given their time and attention to strengthen this program. Thank you once again, both of you. So
Okay.
yeah, without further delay, I think we are just on time, maybe two minutes in advance, but we'll save this time for our question answers, which we have at the end of the session. I'll just share my screen to give you a quick review of what is GCPPCS, followed by Dr. Sanish's presentation on the minimum standard of competence. I hope my slide is visible to all of you. Yeah, good afternoon once again, and namaskar from THSTI, Translation Health Science and Technology Institute, which is the scheme owner of Good Clinical Practice Professional Certification Scheme. As you might have received a mail from Dr. Sonia Moore, who is the program officer of the GCPPCS at THSTI, you are aware about what is GCPPCS, but let me delve a little bit deeper to tell you a little bit about its background, origin, why, rationale, and how we are progressing ahead. On 19th March 2029, India came up with the new drugs and clinical trials rule. We lovingly call them as NDCT rules. Before that, also in 2001, since we have the Indian GCP by CDSU, Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and this GCP is a mandatory requirement for people who are involved in any kind of research involving human participants in India as well as globally. This GCP became now mandatory for all ethics committee members, investigators, clinical research and trial team members, and a certificate of GCP training became a necessary as per the NDCT rules. If you see the page number 149, 151, and 150 and 151, we'll see that the NDCT rules specify that if an ethics committee member is not trained in GCP, he or she might be disqualified. And we have seen over the years at THSTI CDSA that this GCP training is done in 2 days, in 2 hours, in 1 day. There are various sessions on GCP, and we weren't able to have a uniform standard time as well as syllabus for that. We also understood that it is not the GCP which is alone working here. There are a couple of other regulations and guidelines which the clinical researchers should be aware about or trained as a prerequisite when they venture into the field of clinical trials. This GCP training is also a continual process, and it is not that one time you learn it and you just can practice. So with the recommendations that CDSA and DHSTI has been conducting GCP training since last 10 years, I will say probably 12 years, we found that we wanted to have a system where we can benchmark this GCP training and create something, a system where people can be judged on based of their competence. Thus, there was a birth of GCPPCS when we knocked the door of Quality Council of India, National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, and that time it was headed by Shri Anil Johri ji, who was that time the CEO of NABCB QCI. We were suggested to start a system which is based on ISO 17025, which is a personal certification standard. And we were told that we can be the scheme owner and work on 2 branches of the scheme, which I will come to you in the later slide. We held a lot of consultation sessions. We invited a lot of public comments. We also started drafting the minimum standard of competence, which was a necessity for building up the scheme for the India as well as the global launch. We also were very fortunate that our parent body, Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India supported us. And you can see Dr. Renu Swarupji, that time she was the secretary, and we had launched this and dedicated this to the nation in 2021. And the scheme was launched by THSTI as the scheme owner. And you can see Jauriji as well as the present CEO of NABCB, Sri Maheshwari ji, here in the scheme. Now, many people ask me a question, why CDSA, why THSTI, and why not others? Of course, anybody can do that. There is no stringent requirement that we only will be able to do. India is a country is a most populous country with a lot of people, but it never existed when we started. So we started, and this is the scheme. It takes a lot of efforts to build a scheme. So we found that the GCP training, that time we had around 12,000 people who had been trained in GCP. And we had this core competency of doing this training again and again, and also finding out the effectiveness of the training. Also, we found that how can the quality be enhanced and how we can standardize this entire thing. So we started benchmarking this, and that became the framework for us, which helped us to build the scheme. We also studied the structure with the help of NABCB and QCI, and we found that there are a lot of regulated sectors where there's a mandatory requirement, like we have for drugs by the CDSU, insurance by IRTA. There was also voluntary schemes, like we have voluntary schemes by NABL and NABH for laboratories and hospitals. And we found that there is also a personal or professional certification scheme which exists for yoga as well as for traditional healers. THSTI GCPPCS scheme is based on the example set by others. It is a voluntary scheme. Like quality is voluntary in nature, it is never mandatory. It is always voluntary if we want to take up any accreditations. We also did some SWOT analysis whereby we tried to understand about the strength, weakness, opportunities, threats that are associated with launching such a big responsibility, which is GCPPCS scheme. When we did a literature survey, we connected with many people, national and international. We never found anything which existed like this, which is based on international standard, which is ISO 17024 2012. It is supposed to be the first of its kind such professional certification scheme, according to us. If you know anybody who is able to tell us about this, then we can think about many such certification schemes. Our main aim is to ensure that we create an internationally acceptable framework for certifications. And also, as CDSA THSTI being the scheme owner, we also wanted to strengthen it with the help of many people. There are two aspects of this, which will come in the next slides. We also had a chance to meet our present Drugs Controller General of India, where we apprised him about the system of GCPPCS that exists, and that will strengthen the present NDCT rules and its implementation in India. GCPPCS is purely based on skill-based, or we can call competency-based. It is based on knowledge, skill, and attitude of personnel. It's based on a stringent system that has its root from ISO 17024. You can see that CDSA THSTI is the scheme owner, and we work with Quality Council of India's NABCB very closely. And we have two parts of it. The left-hand side is the professional personal certification bodies, or we call it that as PRCBs, and the other one is training institutions. Let me explain you to make it this flowchart a little simple in nature. Suppose I feel that I am already trained in GCP and I have been working in this area for several years and I do not require to take any training, then I can directly go to a PRCB. India's first CP, or the global first PRCB for us, is NECU, Northeastern Christian University, and we will have Dr. Shalom from there today speaking and interacting with you. So you can directly go to NECU and give them competency-based assessment system, and then you can take a certificate, and that certificate of GCP PCS will make you internationally valid in Japan, valid in US, valid in Europe, because it is liaisoned or linked with NABCB's Quality Council of India, and NABCB QCI is also a member of International Accreditation Forum. I will come to that in the next subsequent slide. If you feel that you know GCP, but you still like to take some training to just level up your confidence or skill sets before you take exam, then there will be a lot of training institutions which will come under our gambit, which we will put in our website. Presently there are none, where you can go and take training on GCP and then go to the PRCB. So wherever you take training, whether self-training or training from any institutions, you will get your GCPPCS from the PRCB. So this is the crux of it. It's just like you can think giving an exam for NEET or giving an exam for JEE. Whether you study from Akash or Baiju or PACE or Allen, that is your training institutions, you still have to give the exam, which is JEE or NEET, which is your PRCB, which I can say is NTA, like National Testing Agency. So that I think will help you simplifying this. Remember that this GCPPC scheme is based on a very stringent system. We have a steering committee which has multiple it's a multiple members committee which has representatives of various ministries: Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It's a very strong committee, and we have a technical committee which strengthens the minimum standard of competence, which is also comprises of a large group of technical experts and subject matter experts. We also have an assessment committee which is comprised of experts who are from the expertise of ISO 17024 and the quality background. We also have a review and decision panel which takes decision about the certifications, and we also have an appellate body where people can go and file for any appellates in case there are any concerns. So this is a schematic representation to make it simplify. When I mentioned that if you get a GCPPCS certificate, then remember that you are internationally valid. What is the meaning of this internationally valid is that NABCB is a signatory to International Accreditation Forum. They have a memorandum of understanding or a multilateral arrangements with the International Accreditation Forum, which we call it MLA, that is Multilateral Recognition Arrangement. And they ensure that the certifications that are given here from the PRCB, which are based on ISO 17024/2012, is internationally equivalent. So if you get it in India, you get it in Colombia, you get it in Venezuela, it will be internationally valid. This international equivalence comes through a system which is demarcated through this flow chart, and you can see International Accreditation Forum, which NABCB is the member. NABCB is National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, and ILAC is similar one for the laboratories, where ILAC is associated with laboratory, and for which our NABL has an association with the ILAC or forms a part of that ILAC. So as an accreditation body, there are different different flowcharts of how the accreditation body works, how this competency assessment is done, or how this entire standards was developed. You can see that 17024 is associated with the NABCB and our personal certification bodies, whereas the standards against which this is certified is mentioned as our minimum standard of competence, which has its root in the Indian GCP 2001 as well as ICH E6R2 2016. As I mentioned about that, we have a base based on a strong governance structure here in GCPPCS, and we have this multi-stakeholder steering committee at the apex level and all the various committees that I have mentioned. The website is available and all the scheme documents are there, and you can refer them for more details. The website has also a link for the email address. If you have any queries, you can always send it to us. This is a photograph of our first PRCB, globally first, because we might have many PRCBs, but first is always first. And today we are very blessed to have NICU, which is Northeastern Christian University, with us, who has been already earlier working with traditional healer for the ISO IEC 17024/2012 standards as a PRCB. They are the PRCB you should go to in case you are aspiring to get the GCPPCS certified. On 3rd January this year, THSTI entered into a memorandum of understanding with National Institute of Health and Family Welfare, and we have now have a MOU to work with National Institute of Health and Family Welfare to strengthen them and make them as a training institutions. NIHFW based in Delhi has also centers in states. So first it will be a center in Delhi and then all states. They also have a very strong facility of residential training as well as LMS based online training, and that will boost the training institutions. Whereas we are also in talks with others to have more and more training institutions and PRCBs in India and across globe to strengthen this. Ladies and gentlemen, I always believe that quality is voluntary and we should choose quality over quantity and others. So my last wording to say goodbye is that if you have a choice, please choose the best. But if you don't have a choice, then do the best. Thank you. Namaskar and Jai Hind. Over to you, Sonia.
A very good afternoon to one and all. And we are just on time. It's 3:22 and like above the time. And Dr. Sanish is here. I invite him to take this forward, taking the lecture on minimum standard of competence. Sir, shall we start?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, he's audible and visible also. So I invite all the attendees to join him for his lecture. And one more announcement I have to make here is that some of them are sending me mails that they are being discontinued in the middle of the session. They can join on YouTube Live. I'm sending them emails throughout in between. And if they are still finding any difficulty, they can send me emails. I'll send you the YouTube link. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you can confirm, you can hear me okay, and you can see my slides okay, that'll be great.
Yes, Dr. Sanish.
Okay. So thank you, Sujata, for setting the
Did we suddenly lose Sanish by any chance? Okay.
I think he lost his connection in between.
Yeah, no problem.
I should call to
Yeah,
IT.
you can call up and I can interact with, yeah, no problem. No problem. When you do something of bigger scale, there are a lot of issues that usually happen. Absolutely perfect. So ladies and gentlemen, in the chat box, if you can log in and let me know if you have any questions, we will park those questions and then we will take at the end of the session. And I would like to tell you something which is very important is that we have a huge number of people who are attending. And that's the reason we have a cutoff of 100 and you can see participants in 100, but the number of registration has crossed 375 when I last had a peaked. So there are many people who are not able to join. Yes, Dr. Ritu, I can understand because there's a cutoff today the link is allowing us 100. Last time the link was allowing us 500. So as mentioned, I'm requesting Sonia to put the link as in the chat box for the YouTube live, and we will also put it in the email if you write to us in the GCPPCS email address. And please ensure that if you are attending in YouTube live and you can put your name completely, then we consider it an attendance and this is being recorded. So we will be able to also see your attendance before we release the certificate of attendance. Remember, this certificate of attendance is only for attending this webinar. This certificate of attendance doesn't mean that you are GCPPCS certified, just to make a clarity in case it is not. GCPPCS certification will be given by PRCB, personal or professional certification body. Presently it is NECU, where you have to go and apply if you feel you're already GCP trained, and they have a system which is based on AN 7024, which is an international system of professional bodies to test the competency based on knowledge, skill and attitude. So that stringent system is being monitored by Quality Council of India and NABCB. And once you go there and give the competency assessment, they are the ones who are going to give you the GCPPCS certified. THSTI has no role to play because THSTI is a scheme owner, and NECU and other training institutions, PRCP, will be working with THSTI for that. THSTI is not going to give you the certificate. So we have a question answer session at 4:40 where we have requested Shri Anil Johari ji, who is the chairperson of the steering committee, and he was also the CEO of NABCB QCI, to help us answering those questions. But and I am sure
And
when
some of the
Sanish is,
questions are coming now also, like how to collaborate with DHSTI.
so
We
you
have a
can,
Q&A at 4:40.
yeah, and plus you
So
can also,
yeah,
till Sanish joins, Sonia, I
yeah,
have
yeah,
requested them to post the question. So it is,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, if you
Mhm.
can pick up those questions and put it in your Word
Yeah,
document, so
I'm
that,
maintaining
yeah,
a
yeah,
database for that.
yeah.
Okay, okay, no problem. So you guys can drop in your questions if you have till now, and we can proceed as
So
per
is there
that.
any problem of Sanish joining back, any by any chance? So by the time Dr. Sanish joins, let me also tell you something about something which are very simple queries people may have. Suppose you are an organization which is a medical college, or you are an organization which also involved in training personnels, then you can apply or ask us if you can be part of the TIs or training institutions of this scheme. It is not that we take a decision. We have a committee which takes a decision, which is on a preset time zone basis, like maybe once in a month or twice in a month, we take those decisions. There is also an opportunity when you are interested in becoming a PRCB. So if you are interested in becoming a PRCB, then you can also write to us, and we also have a system of working on that. Okay, so these are two of the system. If you are also a medical college, for example, then you can also think about training your professionals and also becoming a part of TIs. But if you are a person who would like to who would like to be a GCPPCS certified, then it is very important that you write to the PRCBs, who is Neku, and whose details are there in the Google, as well as his details are there in my presentation slides, which I showed you. And you can write to them directly. Today we will have Dr. Shalom with us, who will answer your questions, and that is a direct way of how you can interact with them and become. If you feel that you would like to have a GCP training before that, then with an IHFW will be coming soon with some training programs, but there are various training opportunities available. You can use them. We do not recommend any, because without reviewing and evaluating, it is unfair for us to say that you should take training X place or Y place. But I'm sure there are many. Um, and and yes, let me see whether Sanish is back. No, I don't see him back. Can we take Shalom? Are you there with us? Can we take Shalom your sessions, or George, you'd like to address those questions? Shalom, it will be a good idea if you can take your session. When Sanish comes, maybe we'll be able to meet Sanish and take his session. By the time I'll connect with Sanish. Dr. Shalom, are you there here with us?
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Shalom.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Shalom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Please take up a session now.
Yeah. Would you go ahead with your sessions? I hope you do not have an audio issue. Video is okay because we
No,
can go
no.
ahead. Yeah, please go ahead. Thank you so much for taking the certification process. Very important indeed.
I have. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this time, and thank you for organizing this webinar. I can I request Sonia to kindly share the PPT?
Yeah, sure. Sonia, would you like to go ahead and share Dr. Shalom's PPT?
Yeah. Please, I'll share. I'm sharing. Just give me a minute.
You can start speaking, Dr. Shalom, in the interest of time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to take you through the registration about the application process for GCP.
There's a lot of background
Ma'am,
noise which is coming.
yeah,
A lot of background noise that is coming. Shalom, is it because of the connectivity?
I think so.
I've already. Can you see your presentation out there?
Yeah, Dr. Shalom, if you can just check on the audio. In meantime, I had a chance to speak to Dr. Sanish, and Sanish was actually speaking continuously, thinking that his session is going on well. He did not realize that we got disconnected, and I think he will join back. And we are on time because for 3:30 his session was supposed to start, so we are just on time. But still, I can see Jodiji here and others. Sonia, you'll have to stop sharing your screen. Yeah, I can see some questions raised by Dr. Bhattacharya. Dr. Bhattacharya, you can write your questions in the chat box. We'll take it. That will be better, I think, because there might be a lot of people who would like to speak, and then that can lead to some problem. Yeah, Dr. Nikhil, you can write the question. Yes, there's an audio problem from Dr. Salom. Can I speak to the IT? Actually, Sanish is trying to join and it is not allowing him. IT, could you please help us? From IT, Piyush, Sapna? Yeah, I can see Sanish. Yeah. Sonia, can you please stop sharing your screen? Maybe that's the reason Sanish will not be able to share his screen. Sonia, can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sanish, for joining back. Can you unmute?
Yeah. Yeah, can you hear me and see me?
Please go ahead. Yeah, I will have to start from the beginning.
Okay, yeah. I need to be allowed to share my screen.
Yeah, IT, please could you make him co-host? Maybe Dr. John, you do not require to make him co-host because he's not speaking in this session. So because you might have limited opportunities.
Thank you. Sir, okay. Sir, your issue has been solved. Please try to share your screen.
Yeah, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible in a good way, and we are waiting for the screen.
Can you let me know if you can see my screen?
Yeah,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now we can see.
Okay, then let me start once again. My apologies to everyone. I was rattling off. I probably reached slide number 15 when they alerted me that you're not audible and you're not seeing. Okay, so no worries. Sometimes it's always the second time actually things come out better. So a little bit of disclaimer that this is a scheme which is developed by THSTI, CDSA, and whatever we are talking about is my own individual presenter view. Like I said, the scheme has been developed by THSTI, the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the version that we are actually at for the MSc or the minimum standards of competence is the version 1.1, which was released on October of 2021. Now, everyone on this call wouldn't need an introduction to GCP. This is something which encompasses all the, you could say, the gamut of clinical research or clinical studies, right from the design, the conduct, the performance, monitoring, auditing, recording, analysis, as well as the final reporting of the clinical trials. Now, under the DNC Act, the DTAB, or the Drugs and Technical Advisory Board, had endorsed the adoption of GCP guidelines for streamlining clinical studies in India. And of course, the GCP guidelines has also been adopted by ISO. But we don't have a standard or something to judge someone against if a professional says that he or she is trained or certified in GCP, right? I mean, that's something that needs to be looked at. And all the more it is important because clinical research workforce requires an influx of new and qualified professionals who have the knowledge, skills, and attitudes, as well as the competency for doing that work, as well as people who have been in the clinical research environment or in the work stream also after a period of time needs to enhance their skills based on what is the new things which are coming in, etc. So there has to be some competency, you could say, enhancement or also skill development, etc., through professional development activities. So competence in clinical research can be divided into three broad headings. One is your skills. The second is the knowledge that you have. And the third pillar is the application that you do of these skills and knowledge that you have in the domain of clinical research. So competencies are observable. They can also be quantified, and hence they can also be assessed to ensure that a professional who says that he or she is a GCP certified person can actually, you could say, show all these kind of requirements. So right now, there is no generally agreed upon set of core competencies on which educational programs or training requirements are defined at either an entry level, you could say, situation, or for even people who are very good professionals who have been in the clinical research workforce for more than 10 years or 12 years, etc. So based on all these lacunae or gap analysis that has been done, the scheme owners, which is THSTI, designed to evaluate and certify in a self-directed and a practice-based learning manner rather than a supervised training, this GCP professional certification program. And this program or the scheme is envisaged to promote, maintain, and develop these competencies. So competencies can be professionalism, knowledge, skills, and attributes of each of these things, which are the knowledge and the skills that a person develops over a period of time. And the scheme owners hence develop what we call as the minimum standard of competence, or MSc, of the good clinical practice professional, or GCPPCS. So that's what the scheme is called as. And anyone who finishes or gets certified can actually put on their CV that they are a certified GCP professional at a basic level. And we'll talk about the basic and the advanced level in the next couple of slides. So what are these core competence domains in clinical research? So based on several research and others globally as well as in India, based on, you could say, methods that are used, here are the 6 domain areas which are called as the core competence domain areas. One is on the protocol. Second is knowledge about the investigational drug as well as the regulations which surround it. Third is the key part, which is the ethical consideration for patient safety and well-being that is there in clinical research. How do you manage clinical study operations? So monitoring, auditing, all those becomes part of clinical study operations. If you are at the site and you want to know more about site management, that is also a core competence domain. And anyone, whether a person is a clinical research coordinator or a CRA or an ethics committee member or even an investigator, everyone should know what happens to the data that is collected in a study, right? How is the data analyzed? What is the outcome of the analysis of the data? What is the statistical principles that are used? Now, of course, not at a very significant level, but at least they should know the basic part. So now if we look at each of these competencies and deep dive a little bit as to what are the different areas that a competency includes. So for example, for protocol, the areas would involve a professional being able to understand what is the need of the study, what is the rationale for doing the study, the objectives and the endpoints of the study, identify why the study is being done. So what is called as the clinically important question that the protocol is going to answer. And then, of course, all these other parts of, you could say, medical slash pharmaceutical knowledge, which involves statistics, epidemiology, operational, pathophysiology, pharmacology, as well as toxicology. So a professional who has a basic understanding of all these different parts of the protocol would be able to be certified to say that this person has core competency in the protocol domain. Now, if you go to another competence domain, which is the investigational drug or the IPP, investigational product that is there, it is not only what is the role of the various stakeholders in the whole thing, which will involve the people who manufacture the drug for clinical research, all the way up to people who are going to use the drug, who's the investigators as well as the patients, and what are the regulations which surround all of this. So what is the expiry date, or what do you say as the manufacturing date, etc. So all these are the different facets of the investigational product development as well as the regulations around the same. Then if you come to conducting the study, so the most important part of GCP is the ethical considerations for patient safety and well-being. So you need to have an idea what all went wrong in a historical perspective, which has led to the current ethical guidelines and regulatory processes which have now come up. Understanding of the requirements for human participant protection, which is a national and an international standard and a requirement. Define concepts like clinical equipoise, which means that any patient who's undergoing a clinical trial, the investigator doesn't know the outcome of the whole thing. So what we call as therapeutic misconception, that we know that whether the patient will benefit from this or not benefit from this is not known when the research is actually going to be conducted. And then, of course, a whole set of others which would involve ethical issues with regards to vulnerable population, what are the additional safeguards that needs to be taken, audio video recording of the informed consent process, what are the documentation that are done. So all that associated with the ethics of the study. And then, of course, study management or the clinical study operations related. So what are the roles and responsibilities of the different stakeholders, designing, conducting, and documentation, understanding adverse events, serious adverse events, causality, compensation. It could even involve, you could say, reimbursement of the participant if there is an SAE, and then monitoring, audit, post-marketing activities as appropriate, etc. The fifth core competency is on study and site management. So how do you select a site? So the feasibility process, what is the human resources or the infrastructure and finances that are there? How do you develop a budget? How do you develop a contract? What are the different guidelines for contracting between an investigator, the institution, as well as you could say the sponsor of the study? So all these fall into the purview of clinical project management or study and site management, including all the legal and the other stuff that goes on with this. And like I said, anyone who's in research cannot say that they don't know what happens in data management or statistics or say, for example, what happens in medical writing, because you also need to understand what happens to the data that is collected. How is it analyzed? What is the typical flow of the data through a clinical trial, all the way up to how it comes out in a clinical study report. So these are all different parts of that domain which is there. The GCPPCS also looked at the different roles or domains that are there in clinical research currently. So for example, we looked at all these different roles that are there. And then we did a Delphi method in order to find out whether for each of these roles, what should be the level of, you could say, competence that should be there for a person to perform a role. So for example, if you take an investigator, for a protocol, that person has to have an advanced level of understanding if the person is to write that protocol. But maybe for a clinical research coordinator, they just need to have basic knowledge of the protocol. They don't need to know very high statistics or other stuff that is there. Similarly, a legal person who's on the ethics committee doesn't need to know about very advanced epidemiology or statistics or other part. They just need to have the basic part. So the basic level of GCPPCS is deemed as entry level requirement for functioning in any role that is there. Now we talked about competence. So the next part is naturally the evaluation of the competence. So the evaluation actually is divided into each of these competencies being sub-competencies. By that, what we mean is that you can actually divide each of the competency part into different other subheadings where you are able to kind of like say that, okay, how do you actually say which are the requirements for maybe developing a protocol? Second is maybe you might want to describe how would you use the statistical underpinnings of how to calculate the sample size for the protocol. Third, you would need to know what is the clinically significant difference in order for you to actually design the sample size. So these are the sub-competencies, as they say, which is put into attitudes, beliefs, which can be assessed. And they break down in order to kind of like find out how much time it is needed even for learning each of these. So this is an example on this slide of two different competence that is evaluated on the knowledge and skill set format. So for example, the protocol, like for example, a basic level professional should be able to recognize the need to apply rational and scientific principles to the discovery and development of biomedical products as well as clinical research. So there is that understanding that needs to be there. A basic level professional should also be able to explain what all are the different parts of a protocol. Like, for example, there has to be an objective, there has to be a methodology, there has to be a way to collect the data, etc. So that is the explain part. Now, if you look at another, you could say competence domain, where this is on the clinical operations part. Say, for example, if you take the example of adverse events, serious adverse events, etc. A basic level professional should be able to recognize what are the differences between adverse event, serious adverse event, etc. They should also be able to recognize when an SAE occurs and how do you actually report it to the health authority, to the ethics committee, and to the head of the institution as per the NDCT rules, which is the new drugs and clinical trial rules of 2019. And then, of course, even sometimes at an advanced level, people might need to know how to assess causality, relatedness, and all these stuff. So this is how the competence is assessed in the minimum standards of competence. So what are the documents that are used for defining MSc? Of course, these are all publicly available documents, like, for example, the Indian GCP guideline of 2001, ICH GCP. Currently, I think R3 is going to come out in a couple of months, but we are going to follow what is already there in the domain, which is called as ICH E6R2. The NDCT rules, which is the main regulations in India which govern clinical research. And then the ICMR guidelines, which is the National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical and Health Research involving human participants. A large part of our competency framework has been adapted from the Joint Task Force framework, which is developed by the Boston group. So with that, thank you so much, and my apologies once again for the technical issue that was there initially. Happy to take any questions before we move to the next presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanish. Not your fault. I many times realize that I'm talking and suddenly I am out of this. So it is very common symptoms nowadays. That's why, as a measure, I have started using my mobile as one of the join in to see whether I am visible or not. So thank you so much for joining back again. We have 10 minutes time with us, and I could see Dr. Shalom logging out and logging in. Maybe that problem is getting solved. We'll not be able to hold Dr. Sanesh for a long time. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions related to MSc, that is minimum standard of competence, please start posting in the chat box. That's a better way because we have huge number of people. And I'll request Sonia if you can pick up the question from the YouTube live to ask
Yes, ma'am.
Dr.
Yes,
Sanesh.
ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. And I invite all the participants to add on their questions here. If they have anything related to
So, Dr. Sanish, there's a
MSc,
question which is
yeah.
coming up, which is about NIDA. You're aware about the
Yeah.
NIDA certificate, right? When we go for assessment. So many people do submit NIDA. I many times get during an NABH assessment. How justifiable it is being asked. Would you like
Actually,
to?
there are 3 questions regarding NIDA only from Mr. Akash.
Okay.
So I'll think one of the questions ma'am has answered already.
Yeah. So I guess this is the issue with many of these global certifications, right? Because some of these are very specific to India. Like, for example, the SAE management. The whole section on SAE management is so very different in India than other countries. So while I think maybe many investigators, because it is easily available online, they kind of like get the certification done. But the reality is that it hardly has any elements which might be relevant from a Indian GCP or an NDCT or the other regulations and guidelines that are there in India.
So I will request all of you to keep the question very restricted to GCP and not with something else, because we have a habit of getting swayed by different things. So
We also have a question from Dr. Agrawal, but I don't think this could be answered in the MSc
yeah,
PCS thing.
yeah. I agree with you,
Yes,
Sanish,
yes,
because
yes.
we are no one to comment on this kind of things. Please restrict on the GCPPCS certification.
Yes.
Yeah. There's some sound coming. I do not know from whom. I'll request all of you to kindly mute your mic in case. Okay, Dr. Shalom is offline. Maybe we'll request Dr. Shalom to join. Sonia, you can call Dr. Shalom.
Yeah, I'm calling him.
Meantime, I'll just see the question.
So Akash, I think your question is, many professional bodies conduct GCP certification course, right? Which is acceptable in India. Now, there is no hard and fast rule because it depends upon who's actually asking you for the, you could say the certification, right? If it is just for the purpose of, you could say, conducting a study, basic GCP certification might be acceptable by any, even the regulatory agency. But even when, say, for example, the regulatory agency actually asks us who conducted the certification program for you, I think many a times the regulatory agency says that it has to be coming from a certified government body, etc. So that's always, you could say, uh, the most important part to understand, that when it comes to, you could say, a standard, right now we don't have a standard that is there, and this whole scheme is a process to actually have a standard against which anyone can assess themselves.
I can see answer from Joriji also. I know that he is in middle of a meeting and still is trying to address it. Thank you so much, Joriji. I think he has mentioned about the role. Anybody can do that. It's based on strong knowledge and competence, which just now Dr. Sanish Davis explained. By the time Dr. Shalom joins, Dr. Vani, are you available? Is it okay for you to take the session? We can just swap with the
Ma'am,
PRC.
Vani will be joining in 5 minutes, but Dr. Salam has joined just now.
Okay. Yeah. I can see Dr. Vani in fact joined.
Yeah, she was saying that she'll be here by 4. I think she has also joined. Okay.
I cannot see
हाँ जी,
Dr.
हाँ जी, ठीक है, दोनों को आप इन कर दीजिए because हमें टाइम जा रहा है ना.
Okay. Are there any questions which Dr. Sanish can address before we can say thank you and goodbye to him? Thank you so much, Dr. Sanish, to take a time from your busy week schedule for contributing to this GCPPCS endeavor of ours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can park these questions here. I do not know, Sanish, will you be available during 4:45, 4:55 slots to take questions if there are any questions related to MSc, or we will send it through email, or we'll address it from our end? Okay. I can see Dr. Shalom here. Good afternoon, Dr. Shalom.
I think her voice is not clear.
Yeah, you can switch off. I think Northeast has this kind of a little bit of connectivity issues. You can, yeah, you can switch off the video to just see whether the streaming is
Yeah.
better. Thank you, Dr. Kaushal Kumar Mahato. Thank you. Anybody have any problems, you can type questions. I have requested Sonia to help us with the questions being picked up from chat as well as from
Yeah, there's
YouTube
one
live.
question from Dr. Kamal Bhattacharya. He's saying that currently offline programming is going in Swasthya Bhavan in Kolkata. Is that different?
Dr. Bhattacharya, we are nobody to tell which is different or which is correct, because it will be very biased opinion to do that. I am also not aware what is happening at Swasthya Bhavan in Kolkata. But what just now Dr. Sanish showed you about the minimum standard of competence, which is available in the website. It was absolutely put for public, public views before it was finalized into the version. It is always a continual version. So if there are comments, it will get into a revised version also. You can refer that, and if the training covers, it can be covered by anybody from across the globe. Then it meets those standard, and if you are confident that you are trained, you can directly go for certification to any of the PRCBs. Presently, we only have one PRCB, and that's where Dr. Salom comes from.
Yeah. Dr. Salom, can you hear us all? You want me to share your presentation?
That will be better.
Yeah, I'm
Sonia.
sharing your presentation. Just give me a minute.
So, ladies and gentlemen, by the time Dr. Salom starts speaking, let me do something to just save time. Is that Dr. Salom comes from the certification body, which is PRCB. We call it Personal or Professional Certification Body. She's the quality manager at NECU North East Christian University, and she will tell us about exactly what you want to know when you aspire to get GCPPCS certified. Like, you write to them, then what process they will follow, how the system has been reviewed by their end, what makes them this process a stronger process, and all your queries also she will be able to help you. If in the paucity of time, if we are not able to address, then their email address and everything is there in the website. You can always write to there. I am aware that Shalom is very prompt, and she will ensure that your questions are addressed. If you still do not get answers, you can always write to Sonia and the GCPPCS team, and they will try to revert you. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Shalom.
Dr. Salom, can you hear us all? Because I've shared your presentation. Hello.
Dr. Shalom, are you able to hear us? Can you please start talking? Maybe you can join from another link in the. I do not know how it is. Yeah, you can start. We can hear something from your end now. Please go
Hello.
ahead. Yes,
Yeah,
Dr. Shalom. Please go
you're
ahead.
audible.
Okay.
Shall I
Can I
move the
start?
presentation? Shall I?
Yes, can you please go to the next slide?
Yeah. Please,
Okay.
please. I'm coordinating here. You please keep telling me when to move.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience. I have network connectivity. I'll just start with my presentation now.
We understand. We
Oh,
understand. No
okay.
problem.
Okay, so we have a very simple process of application. So first of all, as Dr. Sujita has mentioned, the email ID link, everything's there. Everything has been shared. So if you're interested in applying, you can write to us, and once you write to us, we will be providing you with the application form, the fee structure, details, and also the complete information about the certification process. So we will be sharing the certification process flow diagram. And then along with that, we'll be also sharing the applications, rights and duties, and also that also includes the duties of a certified person, which includes a code of conduct. And all this will be completed within 7 days of query. Can you please go to the second slide?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Now, once we receive your application, it will go through a scrutiny process. So what we will do is we will check for the completeness and for the adequacy. We will be checking whether the information that you provided is complete or not. So along with the name, the contact details, the dates of education, training, work experiences, all of this will be checked. And if at all, if any deficiency is observed in the application form, the applicant will be informed within 7 days. And all the records, whatever records that you submit, are reviewed and are maintained. Now, once the application forms are registered, okay, once it's found complete, it will be registered within 7 days of receipt of application. And once we receive that, we will be providing you a unique identification number, acknowledge, and records. And then registration will be done once the complete application form is received. Please move on to the next slide. Okay, these are the criteria on which, these are the grounds on which an application can be rejected. So one is when we receive application form, we will be informing the applicants about a deficiency. Now, the applicants will be given a time period in order to rectify those deficiency. So if the deficiency observed in application forms are not completed within 1 month, then the application gets rejected. The second one is if the applicant does not take the assessment within 3 months of the registration of application, then number 3 is misuse of certification mark, if any, evidence of malpractice, voluntary withdrawal of application. So these are the 5 grounds on the basis of which the application can be rejected. Next slide, please. Okay, and then this is the assessment process. So NICU will be conducting written examination using multiple choice questions for testing knowledge and case study. The skill in the 6 domains of competence for basic level examination. In the written examination, there will be no negative marking for the basic level examination. The overall pass percentage for the successful candidates will be 70%. Now, this examination will be conducted online. Hence, it will be, to make it easy for people across the country to apply. This can be, this examination can be taken through the online platform. Next slide, please. Okay. Yes, in continuation with the examination process, NICU will ensure that examination of candidates is conducted within 3 months of registration of the application, and the NICU will schedule the assessment as and when the number of candidates is optimum as a minimum. The NICU, at its discretion, may assess with less number of candidates. The NICU will ensure that the certification process is completed within 15 days from the date of the actual assessment, where applicable. So once we apply, once we received the application form, we'll be processing it, and you don't have to wait for a long time, to take the examination. And once the examination is conducted, again, you don't have to wait for another 2-3 months for your result. Everything will be done systematically, and the result will be declared 15 days from the date of the actual assessment. Next slide, please. And this is about the decision on certification. The NICU will decide on certification by a competent person independent of assessment. This is based on the information gathered during the certification process and shall ensure the following. The assessment result of the candidate is not below the minimum score specified. Availability of necessary documentation as proof of the means of assessment chosen to assess a candidate. The candidate should obtain at least 70% to be awarded certificate. Next slide. I think that's the last one. So that was a quick run through with the certification process. So as I mentioned in the very beginning, it's a very simple process. If you're interested, you can write to to NICU about, you can write an inquiry email to us, and we will forward the application form, all the required documents to you. Then you can go through it, fill it up, Then once we receive it, we will scrutiny it. We'll get back to you if we require more information. And then once your application form is complete, we will register it. And then NICU will notify you about the examination schedule, and everything will be. And then within 3 months of the application, of the submission of the application form, the examination will be conducted, and the result will be declared in within 15 days of the actual examination. So
Salon,
yes.
hi, Dr. Salon. Thank you for the wonderful session. Just to add one thing here, that I have added in the message box, I've added the details about NICU, which is our first PRCB, the contact details, the email address, everything is there. If there is any inquiry regarding that, you guys can check out the message box. I have put in the details there. And Salon, you please carry on with the doubts also.
Okay.
Yeah. And you also
Thank you
check out the comment box also, in case I have missed out something. Please check.
Okay. Thank you, Sonia. Okay.
We have questions also. Like Dr. MK Sudarshan is asking, what is the fees?
For now, the fee is we have kept it as 20,000, but then it's open for review. We will be taking it up with discussion with CDSA, THSTI. We'll be discussing with them.
Yeah, and one more thing is there. We are asking for suggestions also. If somebody has to suggest some amount or something related to this.
It's open for review, so yes, you can definitely suggest.
It is based on a self-sustainable basis, so that the
Yeah.
PRCB which is conducting is also able to make it sustainable and work without compromising the quality. Today we are doing wonderfully well with the timings, although we have facing with the worst possible scenario, whether it comes to Zoom's final ceiling of 100 numbers as well as the internet connectivity. But still we are on time. I'm so happy. Dr. Shalom, it is not easy for us to sustain. Sometimes we have terrible internet connectivity and you're able to make it from there. I'm so happy about it. Will you hold on till the last 4:45, 4:55 to take up the questions, although we'll have Johari with us, but it'll be good if you can also be there with us.
Okay, ma'am, sure.
Yeah. There's a question from Dr. Arvind Kumar. I am sure this question is not related to GCP, but I'm trying to tell you is that NMC has come up with a guideline in 20 December end, which makes it mandatory for everybody to be trained in good clinical practice. One among them, there are many such, for the first year postgraduate student. It will be a good idea if the first year postgraduate student in MDMS programs, if they also aspire to take GCPPCS during their tenure, it can help them to become a good clinical researcher when they complete their residency and take up their career in academia or in the hospital based jobs. Thank you. So I can see Vani is there with us. Thank you once again, Dr. Shalom, and thank you so much, Vani, for joining us. Could you like to please take up the session? Vani Bhamri Arora is a former deputy director at NABCB Quality Council of India. She's also an expert in international conformity assessment and standards. It'll be a good idea to ask questions which are related to the assessment and standards if you are aspiring to become a PRCB or you have any questions related to the standard. Thank you so much. Over to you, Vani.
Thank you so much, and a very good evening and happy new year to all of you. And definitely, at least for me, this is my first webinar in 2024. So hopefully,
Ours also.
okay. So that's definitely going to be a great thing that we are doing such a wonderful program in the new year. And now, the session which I'm going to take is for the certification bodies, and when you want to be on the other sides. It's not always that when you want to be on the other side, you should hear this out, but it's good if you are a participant also. If you want to get certified, then also you should know that what your certification body should be, what kind of competence they should have when they are evaluating you. So my session is all about that if you want to become an approved provisional certification body under these schemes and want to do the certification for the personal, then what credentials you need under this scheme. I hope my internet connection is fine. Otherwise, I also have to switch off my video. Just confirm that out.
It is absolutely fine. Actually, Shalom had issues because usually from Northeast it becomes quite difficult at times. When I am
Your
also in
network and
Northeast,
video, everything is perfect.
Yeah, because my kids' online classes are going on, so 5 computers are working at home right now. So that's why. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have presentation right now. What I'm going to share is I'm going to talk from the procedure itself, because sometimes it's good because we don't want to miss anything. So whatever is there in the procedure, I'm going to explain you what are the requirements to become the approved PRCB. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see this?
yes, we can
Yes,
see Leah.
Vani, it is visible.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So I'm starting with the basic requirements because we have got a limited time. So first thing to become a certification body, a personal certification body under this program is that you need to be a legal entity in the economy. What is important here is in the economy, because if you are in India, the legal entity is recognized differently from maybe from other parts of the world. So we also have learned when I was in an accreditation body that what is a legal entity, what will you consider a legal entity in India. So make sure that whichever part of the world you are a legal entity in that part of the world. And if you are a part of a bigger organization, then you should be a defined part of that legal entity. If you are a government organization, then you automatically become deemed to be considered as a legal entity because of the government status. But if you are part of a bigger organization, bigger structure, then you need to have a very defined division, defined division in that, or what I say, that a department in an organization which is identified in the organization, which will act as a certification body. So the first basic thing which is required is, yes, you need to be a legal entity. You need to have your legal status, whatever the requirement is there for being a legal entity, ready with you when you are applying for the provisional approval. Now, 3.2 talks about the organization structure. So what it says that you need to have a defined organization structure. What does that mean is that what is your hierarchy, how your organization is going to have, who is the top management, who are the examiners, who will they be reporting, how different committees, if you have any committee like you have decision making committee or you have impartiality committee. We will talk about the impartiality committee little later, how these committee will be working and who will they reporting. So all this hierarchy should be there. Then this requirement is also saying that you have to define the duties and responsibilities and reporting structure. Reporting structure I have already talked about. Now, what will be the duties and responsibility of various people? I don't have to say that in an organization what will be the duty of Vani, what will be the duty of Dr. Sonia, or what will be no, you don't have to say like that. You have to say like that if Vani is the one who is going to be the examiner, so what will be the duty of examiner? Now, either Vani could be the examiner or anybody else could be the examiner. So the role, duties and responsibility of examiners, duties and responsibility of top management. This top management can be same or different, but you have to define it like that. Okay? Same if you have any committee, then what will be the duties, responsibilities, and role of that committee? So that has to be defined there. And another thing, it is saying that when you are a defined part of a bigger legal entity, then you are one particular division or one particular department. So how you are linked to other department, your organization structure should show that where the top management of this person is dealing with other departments in the bigger legal entity. If you are just a certification body, then nothing is there. But if you are a part of a bigger organization, then it has to be shown in your organization structure. So, 3.3 talks about integrity. So now these are the pillars of any certification body, which we talk about: management system certification body, product certification body, inspection body. So integrity is one of the pillar of any of the conformity assessment system. So now they says that CB, the PRCB, which is personal certification body, as well as its personal, whoever is employed by them, contracted by them, whether they are examiners, whether they are people who are providing some kind of services to this PRCB, everybody should maintain integrity at all the times, because this is the one of the most important pillar of a conformity assessment. So 3.3 talks about that integrity. Now, another very important thing is, because when we are dealing with a conformity assessment, independent third body conformity assessment system, then we need to be impartial. As a PRCB, as a personal certification body, we need to be impartial. Now, impartial doesn't mean that it's not just being impartial. I know that I'm partial. Oh, it's not just that. You have to demonstrate to be impartial. Nobody should perceive that you are impartial. So there are much factors. You may be impartial, but you have to demonstrate that you are impartial. So there are many ways to demonstrate that you are impartial, having a policy that how will you ensure impartiality, showing your uniform way of implementing the requirements of the scheme. All these things will demonstrate that you are impartial. So, what the standard is saying under 3.4 impartiality is, definitely they are saying that PRCB shall be impartial. Then they are saying they are structure and manage to safeguard impartiality. Now, structure and manage, what does that mean? When we are talking about organizational structure in 3.2, there we were looking at the reporting structure. So your reporting structure should be like that you should not affect your impartiality. Anything should not hinder the impartiality. Like if I says that your reporting structure somewhere impartiality committee is reporting to lower level, then the people, how will they ensure the working, that CB is working impartiality? Or if something your examiners, um their overall promotion or their overall integration is affected by the numbers of um how many people they have passed or something, if something is linked like that, then it's difficult to ensure and implement impartiality. So that is there. um, the PRCB and its staff shall not engage in activities that may be conflict of interest to impartiality. Now, it's difficult to identify what are the activities. Now, you as a PRCB, you have to sit and you have to think out what could be conflict of interest to impartiality. Now, as a PRCB, my conflict of interest can be that doing examination for different bodies, or doing training, or um, mm, uh, doing training or something. I think somebody said that font is very small. So let me, but this is the normal font of even the PPT. I don't know why they are saying the font is small. Mm. Okay, let me increase the font a bit. Increasing a font is not a problem. Just give me a second.
Actually, it is already 219 or 279%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's already a big enough. I don't know. Yes. So, and this is, I think this is more than 20 on a PPT. So that's why I'm not sure.
And it is visible enough. It's visible in a good
Yeah.
capacity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but if it's not visible to you, then you can just have a, this document is already on their website of GCP. You can download, and I can just have a look along with me when I'm going through the clauses of this. So, uh, mm, So the next comes the PRCB shall act impartially, and with this applicants, candidates, and certified GCP. Now, what they are saying is they need to act impartial, whether you are an applicant with this applicant is when you have just applied to PRCB. Candidates are those once you have accepted the application of the PRCB, the people who are already certified under your PRCB. So you need to be impartial with your applicants, with your candidates, and with your certified GCP professionals. Now, another thing is, which is important, that like you have to think, you have to identify, you have to evaluate what could be the uh, possible risk to impartiality for your organization, or threats to impartiality to your organization, and how you are going to mitigate it. I'm just giving one example. There could be other examples also under this. Like if I say my examiner are not my employees, and my examiners are also giving consultancy or training in this case, then how I will mitigate that kind of risks to impartiality? Because if my candidate is a student of my examiner, then how will I ensure that my examiner is not impartial towards that candidate? So I have to analyze, I have to identify these kind of situations in my PRCB, and then I have to see that how I can mitigate, because sometimes we can eliminate, and sometimes we have to mitigate, and sometimes we have to reduce it to the level which is acceptable. So I have to see how I eliminate or minimize these kind of risk in my organization, and so that my PRCB, whatever certification my PRCB is doing, that certification is not impartial, and that I'm doing everything. I'm managing my conformity assessment impartially. Now, this is a shell requirement, so you have to do this risk analysis, risk to your PRCB if you're doing trainings, if you have contract um, people with you, examiners working with you, all these kinds of things you have to do. And then the C point is saying that the risk assessment process shall be include identification and consultation with appropriate interested parties. Now, what it's trying to say is that once you have done the risk assessment, somebody should, while doing it, provide you the support and also help you in identify the risk, advise you what could be the risk to impartiality, and how you are going to be perceived as an impartial organization in public perception. So that is the C part. And then they are saying in the note that this C, one way of fulfilling the consultation is through the impartiality committee. So when we were talking about the organization structure, we talk about the impartiality committee. So now there is the 3, 4, 5 talks about the impartiality committee. So if you are going to show that you are taking the note 2 and having an impartiality committee to take the public consultation or to involve the interested parties to ensure that there is no risk in your conformity assessment, then this impartiality committee has to be constituted, and then you have to show how you will make the reporting of this impartiality committee. The PRCB shall not impart education and or training for GCP professionals within the same legal entity. Now they have said that PRCB, the legal entity which is going to be approved under this scheme, they cannot impart education or training for GCP professionals. But again, I'm saying PRCB can't do the training, but if you have contract examiners, they can independently do the trainings, but then you have to see how you are going to mitigate that risk. So every word needs to be understood, that what is the requirement, what I can do and what I can't do. So PRCB cannot do the trainings for GCP professionals within the same legal entity. The PRCB shall have processes to eliminate or minimize the risk to impartiality. Training is provided by a related body. The same legal entity can't do the training, but maybe directors or somebody of the same body or this legal entity which is approved has some related bodies. If they are providing the training, then they have to see that how they eliminate or minimize the risk impartiality if this another body is providing the training. The PRCB shall have processes to ensure that evaluators, because we are using the examiners or evaluators and invigilators. The 17024 has a concept of invigilators. We all are from a background who have undergone the examinations and given the papers, entrance, and all kinds of things. So we understand the meaning of invigilator. He is not the examiner, but the one who is responsible when exam is going on, exam is being conducted to ensure that there is no issues, nobody is cheating, and all those kind of things. So now they are saying that the PRCB shall have a process that both evaluators and invigilators are free from conflict of interest. By means of being with the applicant, by means of being a teacher, trainer in recent past, and they have given you that a 2 years separation will be considered, will be acceptable. So if I was a trainer for a candidate, for an applicant or a candidate in 2023, and you are going to conduct an exam and make me an evaluator in 2024, then that is not acceptable. But if I was an trainer in 2023 and you are going to take exam in 2025 December or after that, then it is fine, acceptable. So 2 years separation is considered acceptable under the scheme. Another point is confidentiality. The PRCB shall ensure confidentiality of the information. That is very important because we are taking so much information about the candidates. We know the candidates, we know the applicants, we have so many information about them. So as a PRCB, we need to keep all the information, everything confidential, whatever information we got from our candidates, from our certified GCP professionals, unless they are required by law. But tomorrow, if something happens and the law asks us to release some information about a candidate, then we have to release. Otherwise, all the information needs to be confidential. Another important point, which is different from many other conformity assessment, is security. PRCB should have a document, policy, a procedure, it's saying, to ensure security throughout the evaluation. So if you are saying that I'm going to work with the multiple choice questions, and that is one of the requirement for examination of my students, like NACO had said that they have MCQs. Now, it's the responsibility of NACO, it's the responsibility of PRCB to ensure that these questions remain secure, that it should not leak. Nobody should have, and nobody means unauthorized person should not have access to these question banks, so that these questions are not leaked and examination can be held in. It's also a way of ensuring impartiality. So that's there. Now 3.7 talks about liability and financing. What is talk about that PRCB shall be evaluating the risk arising from its certification, and they should have adequate arrangements in form of some kinds of insurances or reserves in their bank for the operations they are doing. So it's just to ensure the stability of PRCB, and also ensure that tomorrow if something wrong happens and somebody take you a PRCB and do some harm or claim something, then you should have some reserves for that. And this reserves or the insurance amount depends on the your income, your number of certifications, and all those kind of things. So they need to be evaluated how many certification under this you are doing, and what are the geographical regions, and all those kind of things, and ensure that your PRCB is stable so that your impartiality is not compromised. So you need to have some reserves and some kind of insurance. So this is all about the non-technical part, the legal structure, the impartiality, the security, and all those kind of things. Then there are the technical requirements, which about the personal, what kind of personal the PRCB should have. Personal of PRCB are majorly, we are talking here about the evaluator. So what they are saying is the PRCB shall, as part of its organization, personal, either employed or contract. I'm again and again using the word because sometimes we don't have the capacity to hire so many employees, so we can contract the examiners. But whether they are the employed one or they are the contracted one, they both should have the sufficient competence for managing the process of the certification of GCP professionals. So that is there. Then the PRCB shall have the defined process. So the second requirement is that you need to have, as a PRCB, a defined process. What will be your process for selecting whether employed or contracted evaluator, personal, anybody means training them, formally authorizing the evaluators and the technical experts if needed in this activity. So you should have the defined process for the same. Then 4.2 talks about what kind of competence is required. Then they are saying the competence of evaluator and question paper setters used by the PRCB. So one who is going to evaluate or as well as who is going to design the question paper for you needs to be a postgraduate degree in medical science or nursing or pharmaceutical or biological sciences or biostats or clinical data management. So either of this needs to be a postgraduate, needs to have a postgraduate degree in either of these domains, and then they can become an evaluator. The second requirement is that they should have 5 years of work experience in clinical research after receiving a postgraduate degree. So now again, it's important that if you have a bachelor's degree and you start working and then you did your post graduation and then you work for 3 years, so that 2 years before postgraduate as per the scheme right now is not acceptable. So after finishing your postgraduate, you need to have 5 years of work experience. And then you should be GCP trained. The team of personal evaluators or the trainers. Now they are not talking about a signal one. Now the whole team should have the knowledge, domain knowledge, collective competence of the whole six. I'm not saying that one evaluator needs to have the competence of all six domain, but the whole team, if you are constituting team of 2, 3, whatever the team size is yours, they all should collectively have the competence for all the six domains. The personal records, PRCB shall maintain up-to-date personal records as per the requirements of the scheme. Like personal records means their evaluation, their CB, their training records, all these conflict of interest statement, all these personal records needs to be maintained. 4.3 is a certification process which already NECU has covered, but I will just try to mention here is that you need to be all the records of all the certifications you have done under this scheme, and you need to have a written agreement with a GCP professional on use of the certificate once you grant them the certificate. So these are the two additional points which I want to mention. Otherwise, NECU has already specified what are the requirements for the certification process. Now, 4.4 talks about the certification agreement. The PRCB shall have a legally enforceable agreement for the provision of certification activities to GCP professionals. This is all about which I have said that you need to have a legal agreement for the provision of certification activities to GCP professionals. Beside, the PRCB shall ensure its certification agreement requires the GCP professional comply at least with the specific requirement of the scheme document. So your language of your agreement should that the GCP professional needs to comply all the times with the requirements of this scheme. Then the 4.5 talks about the decision on the certification. It says that decision on granting certification, if you are granting, if you are maintaining, recertification, maintaining surveillance, expanding or reducing the scope of the certification, or suspending or withdrawing the certification, all the decision should be independent. There should be independent decision maker from the evaluating team, and PRCB shall remain responsible and retain authority for all these kinds of decisions. So this decision making authority, whether granting, maintaining, recertify, reducing, expanding, suspending, withdrawing, should not be delegated, cannot be delegated, not should, cannot be delegated to any other uh, body, but that has to be retained with the PRCB, which is approved under this scheme. Now, 4.6 is a very important thing which we require for all the scheme is that you need to maintain a website. Now, what does this website do? This website should definitely promote you because we all are in the digital world. We all are promoting the digital India and all those. So one thing is that this is a good platform to promote your PRCB. Uh, but this will also provide information about the scheme, what will be the certification process, uh, then they should describe the whole process of granting, maintaining, extending, redoing all this process of your certification things. And you also have to publish on your website the information about application registers. If you have registered any application, the name of the applicant should come on the website, and certification granted, suspended, or withdrawn. All this information should be publicly available. The PRCB shall make publicly available its processes for handling appeals and complaints. That is very important under any of the scheme. So appeal is basically against a decision, and you should make a process that how to approach you if somebody wants to appeal against any of the decision or want to make a complaint against any of your services, then you should have a complete process on your public domain. So this is all about the requirements of the PRCB. Then they have also defined the approval process, that how uh, you will get approved under this scheme. So the process is that you are going to apply to CDSA, THSTI. In the prescribed, they have the application format along with the application fees. Once this application should be signed by the authorized representative. And after all this, they will review your application. And if the application is found complete in all the respects, then they will proceed further. And the application process will be that they will review the completeness, and then they will constitute an assessment team, which will have team leader, members, or technical expert, whatever will be required for the assessment at the applicant office. And if they have not they have used the word here, critical activities are undertaken. So generally what we consider critical activities, like if you have an office in, if I say in Delhi, but you also want to do some of the activities through Mumbai, some of the activities like taking exams, making decisions, application reviews of the GCP candidates and all those things, and those are considered as the critical activities. And then the CDSA will also review to your head office as well as other locations where the critical activities are taken, if required. But that they will review and take a decision on that. Under normal circumstances, head office will be 2 days audit. And if in case the PRCB is already accredited to ISO 7, the mandates may be reduced. It's not saying, but generally it will be 2 days, because that is minimum required to understand the system. But it can be reduced if you are already 17024 accredited certification body. The names of the members of the team along with the CVs will be communicated to you. In advance, their CV will be shared so that if there is any conflict of interest, then you can tell CDSA that I have a conflict of interest with this assessment team. So they may, if required, they will change the assessment team. If necessary, CDSA may decide based on the report of office assessment or otherwise to undertake the witness of actual evaluation. Where you are doing the evaluation, CDSA team will witness that evaluation if required, to see that whether to ensure the competence of your evaluation process. The assessment team leader will provide a plan in advance. The date of assessment will be mutually agreed. The office assessment will begin with the opening meeting. Then they will review your documents and the implemented requirements, all the requirements we have already discussed, your competence and all these things. Then there will be a closing meeting where if there is any discrepancy from the requirement which we have said, then those will be informed in the form of non-conformities or concerns if that is there. Now, after doing all this, the assessment team will share a report, and then CDSA will take a decision based on this report, and approval will be granted based on all this closures and everything. Now, here they have said that this approval under this scheme will be 1 year, and within 1 year, you have to take a formal accreditation as per 17024 because this is a personal certification scheme. So, the applicable requirement is as per 1702 from NABCB, which is the National Accreditation Body for Indian under Quality Council of India within 1 year provisional approval. Now, they have also said that if you are under they can suspend or withdraw your approval, provisional approval, if you are not meeting the requirements under this scheme. Means if they found that you are not doing impartial certifications, if you don't have the competent people with you, there can be some serious complaints or something like that in the market that they have the provision to suspend or withdraw your provisional approval. They have also said that if there is any change in PRCB, then PRCB should inform what kind of changes they are saying, that legal, commercial, the organization, top management, policies, resources, permissions, or scope of approvals, or anything which can affect this business of conformity assessment, then you have to inform the CDSA. And another important thing is that they have said that you have to inform within a week. Once you certify candidates, then within 1 week, you have to inform to CDSA, PHCI, the whole list of candidates you have certified in last 1 week, so that you have to share with them. And they have also said that they may do witness initially before approval, but definitely during 1 year cycle, they will do at least one witness assessment where they will evaluate your evaluation process. You will do the evaluation, they will just witness this process. And then there is also the provision of extension of this 1 year validity, but that will be based on the written request, and that will be decided. The reason for extension of 1 year should be justifiable. And based on that, they will do that. And I'm not sure because if now they have decided, but CDSA is the best authority to tell you what is their application fee, right? So that is all about the process for provisional approval of PRCB. If you want to become a PRCB under the scheme, then you have to implement these requirements. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vani, for the wonderful session. It was really informative, and I request you to be here for the questions coming up. You might be getting a lot of questions today. So, since your session was the longest one, so
it's a good idea, Vani, because this information is required for many people who would like to become prospective PRCB. Plus, there are NECU is already our first and only PRCB. They can also give their experience sharing.
yeah.
So now the platform is open for question answers, and we have Joriji.
I'm opening up the questions here, which we have received so far. Just give me a minute.
Yeah. Joriji, are you there with us? Maybe Sonia, you can think about Joriji taking the questions.
Yeah. Because actually, ma'am, a lot of questions he has already answered.
Yes.
So just give me a second. I have to check if Joriji is there.
Yeah, I'm there.
He's here. Sir, so good to see you, sir. So these are the questions. So many questions sir has already answered. Dr. Sucheta has already answered. And I welcome all the questions as of now. If somebody has any questions, and one more little announcement I have to make here is that please fill in the feedback forms, because it is very important to have a data out of the webinar we are doing. The efforts we are putting in, we have to make sure that people are getting their queries resolved, and the certificates will be given to those only who will fill in the feedback form with their correct names. It is very mandatory. And I apologize if any of the inconvenience has been caused to you so far, but I assure you that there will be no delay as of now. And from now onwards, please make sure that you are also supporting us by filling in the feedback forms. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Jory sir. These are the questions, like how to collaborate with THSTI.
No, it depends on. Good afternoon, everybody. Depends on what kind of collaboration you want. There are two ways you can be associated with THSTI. One is by becoming a personal certification body, and second is by becoming a training institution, because THSTI is also going to accredit training institutions, and it will also approve personal certification bodies. You can choose one of the two. The only
Yes.
caution I would say is that being the personal certification body, there are international rules which require certain conditions to be met. Like I think Vani spoke about impartiality, what kind of activities you do, certain activities will be prohibited, etc. Whereas if you become a training institution, you are free to do whatever you like. There are no such hard and fast rules, because in when you are doing evaluation, there are restrictions on impartiality, etc. So between the two, training is an easier option. Actually, that's what all I'm trying to say. But you are free to choose either of the two options, and you can be with the THSTI. Last one, somebody asked, what is the duration of validity of certificates? 5 years, I think, is it?
5 years. Yeah, you
Yeah.
already
So
answered
you
this
get a
question.
certificate 5 years. After 5 years, it's renewed. The whole concept of competence today is that you not only are evaluated once for competence, you have to maintain it, demonstrate it after a periodic time, that you are still maintaining that competence, and therefore there is a recertification process also in place. So I think all questions have been answered, I guess, and
Yes, and there's one suggestion also, like sir has asked about the fee suggestions. So people have suggested that it should be between 2,000 to 4,000 and valid for
yeah,
3 years.
someone wrote 5,000, 6,000, somebody wrote 2,000 to 4,000.
Yes, yes, yes.
As Sucheta had mentioned earlier, the fee has to be in terms of self-sustenance of the personal certification body. Please remember that they have to sustain themselves. They should be able to recover their costs, and more than recover their costs. So we leave it to, we do not interfere as scheme owners. We do not interfere in the decision of a personal certification body or a training institution to decide on what fee they wish to charge. Your sentiments, I think surely Dr. Salome would be reading these sentiments, and she is aware of these sentiments. So it's up to NECU. After all, NECU is also interested that it should get some candidates, and fee should not become a deterrence for people. So we leave it to the good judgment of NECU to decide what is the reasonable fee that they would like to charge.
Yes, sir. And so one more question just now popped in the message box, that is this course and training beneficial for professionals who work in the area of computational biology and current science, which is like AI and machine learning in health sciences and research?
I think Dr. Sujeta is more competent to answer that. All I can say is that anybody who is involved in clinical research or
Clinical research,
needs
yes.
to have this GCP knowledge. It's a requirement of the law. So if you are in that area, you must have this knowledge. Other than that, it's a question of, having more knowledge, as much knowledge as you wish.
Yes.
Absolutely right. If you're using human participants and you're
And
involved
human
as
data
an
as well, yeah.
investigator or an ethics committee, then it is. But if you are
Yes.
already in computational biology and AI and ML, and you don't touch humans, then it is not necessary. It's just your voluntariness to learn more language,
Yes.
more
If
things.
you have any plans to switch in the clinical research industry in future.
So there is also one question which I'll request Joriji to take, is that will this certification be accepted outside India and by different regulatory agencies? So
See,
Joriji,
our aim is to make it acceptable abroad by doing two things. Number one, the criteria is based on, apart from the requirement of CDSU in terms of Indian GCP, it is also embraces ICH requirements, which are international standard. So that's first part. Second part is the method of evaluation should also be internationally acceptable, and that's where the accreditation which Vani spoke about, that initially we provisionally approve a personal certification body, subsequently they get accredited by NBCB, and the NBCB system is a system which is internationally acceptable. So we are hoping that with that kind of uh, combination that we have, the basic base standard is embracing international standard. The method of evaluation and certification also follows ISO 17024, which is a standard for personal certification. With these, we should be able to get acceptance abroad. It's a voluntary scheme, so we'll have to work for that acceptance. But these
Yes.
are the tools which facilitate, overseas acceptance.
Joriji, I also want to add that now that we are on the third webinar, we will also gear up for international webinars where we will have international PRCBs and TIs coming up.
Sure.
And when these applications work, I think it will go to their respective regulatory agencies also. We will also interact with the various regulatory agencies apart from CDSU to
Yeah.
other ones like EMA or NVISAs and Health Canada, and ask them about this, tell them about this, and also keep them apprised about this development.
Yeah, but we first need to get some certified professionals. Right
Yes,
now we have
yes. We have
none.
just kick-started. Yeah, we have just
So some of
kick-started
you
it.
who are listening to this conversation, please shell out some money, go for certification, get yourself certified, and then enable us to talk to from a position of strength, talk about acceptance globally. No, there is another question: is there an upper age limit? No, there is no age limit.
There's no upper
Anyone
age
Yeah.
limit.
can acquire this knowledge and can get certified.
The only requirement is that they should have a master's in clinical research.
Yeah.
No, I
So
think
with this,
we have put some not only masters in clinical research. I
Yeah.
think we have put various things in which they are associated. If they are investigators
Yes.
or ethics
Yes, yes,
committee
yes.
members, or few of the educational qualifications are put.
One more question is there, ma'am. Can the applicant decide if they would like to apply for the basic and advanced certificate, or this is decided based on the applicant's current competences?
actually,
So
right now only basic certificate is available. We haven't created the advanced one. So right now you don't have to exercise any option. Just go for the one which is available.
Yeah.
So with this, Sucheta, I would like to take leave. I have a session at 5 o'clock. Let me join the other
Yes.
session.
thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you,
so
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you so
all the
much.
best to all the people who are in this session. Hope some of them will come up for certification,
Yeah.
or some of them will come up as training institution, or some of them will think of
Yes.
becoming a
The-
personal certification body.
Yes, many of them have applied to our PRCB NECU, so their applications are in process, and
Okay, good.
we
That's
are
good.
hopeful about this.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much and all the
Thank you
best.
so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful answers and suggestions here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, otherwise to Sonia for vote of thanks, I can say Kaushal Kumar Mahato. Kaushal Kumar ji, do you have any questions? You can post it in the chat box.
Yeah, we can wait for, I think, 2 to 3 minutes more because we still have time. And one more thing is there that somebody has asked about the basic and advanced certifications. This is like this comes in the category of both because clinical research remains changing. It is a dynamic field.
No. Sonia, they were asking because in Dr. Sunny's presentation, he mentioned
Okay,
about
okay, okay.
GCPPCS MSc, which is based on basic.
Oh,
Like informed by Johari ji, the
yeah.
present one, MSc, is based on basic. But suppose you are from clinical data management, for
Yes,
the
yes.
advanced, we are yet to formulate the MSc for advanced.
Yes,
Where
ma'am.
somebody chooses to become clinical data management, they can go to that and take their advanced in the CDM areas. That was the thing. We have
Okay,
not
okay.
started the advanced, ladies and gentlemen. We'll
Yes,
work
ma'am.
on that once the basic is strengthened. I can see Vani here again. Thank you so much, Vani, for being and staying with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I will take the leave and thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Over to you, Sonia, for the vote of thanks and closing the session.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Dear all the attendees, thank you for being so patient and thank you for joining in the YouTube session since we have a last minute emergency today. And I request all, I humbly request to all fill in the feedback form since we find it difficult to find the names and have the data to fill in to provide you the certifications. This is the only request I have to make to you. And I'm really thankful to all of you to being such a wonderful audience and asking such important questions, which were very important to us also. And answering them was a Answering them and solving your query was a great, great help to us also, because we have also a lot of questions since this program is very new. So I thank all the speakers here, Dr. Dr. Sucheta ma'am, for always taking in the GCPPCS overview session and helping all to attend the basic understanding of it, because we can't move to the complexity of anything without doing it on the basic level. And Dr. Sanish for taking up the MSc session, and special thanks to Niku, our first PRCB, who took up the certification process, which wouldn't have been possible without them, and Dr. Vani, and to all the wonderful audience to be for being there for the 2-hour webinar session. Thank you so much all.
Thank you so much once again, Sonia, for taking all the pains. And I knew that you were unwell, but you were able to make it. And we are thankful to all the participants, even after this time around close to 5 o'clock. We had YouTube alive, and we have close to 83 plus participants with us, which is a commitment that definitely they're interested. If you have any questions, anything, do not hesitate to write to us at
Ma'am, we have one more
gcppcs.cdsa.
question. We have two,
Yes.
three questions more. That biotechnology professional can avail this?
You please visit our THSTI website. We have put a list in the MSc who are the people professionals who can do that.
Yes.
If you fall in any one of them, please go ahead. If you don't fall and you have still queries, you can cite that and write to us at GCPPCS email address, and we will not answer the questions. We have various committees and we'll go to them and we'll ensure that your questions are answered. So please feel free to do that. For PRCB also, you can directly write to them.
Yes, I've shared the last page of my slide, which has the email address of Niku as well, which the person who really wants to go for the certification directly, they can message them, they can email them. And one more email ID is there, gcppcs.cdsa@thsti.res.in, which is run by me and Dr. Sujeta both. If you have any inquiry after that session also, you can write us to here.
Thank you once again. And GCPPCS is born in India for the world. So I would like Indians first to take this certifications before we move and become international for this. Thank you so much for attending today's third webinar, and namaskar and Jai Hind from all of us.
And you can write in all your suggestions also. We welcome all the suggestions also. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, IT, for helping us through these turbulent times. During the initial times, we had tough time. Thank you so much, IT.
And for YouTube listeners also, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, YouTube listeners.